Integrating the project plans. Integration of plans is a process required to ensure that the various project plans are properly coordinated. We look at the core management plans and the supporting management plans. The idea behind integration is that even though we develop close to 9 project plans of the different areas and different management areas of the project, we need to make sure that they are integrated, that we are not having 9 different project plans that are not coordinated, and that might create a lot of confusion to the team. And integration means that the activities are following the schedule, the budget, and the roles that we have assigned in the team. All of these 9 plans need to be coordinated. And when we look at our core plans, we know and understand that they are related to the constraints of the project. So the schedule, the scope, and the budget and the quality will be very tightly integrated. All the other plans also have a relationship in terms of the schedule, in terms of the resources, the budget, and all the information we're going to be using. It needs to be a single project plan. It's not different pieces that are independent of each other, and that's the idea of integrating our plans and making sure that the work we do, it is coordinated. When we look at tools to help you manage that, one of those tools like Microsoft Project or Project Open are tools that can help you integrate a lot of that information into a single view. The idea of having a single view is that you can look at information of the project without having to look at 9 or 10 different documents. You can have a high-level view of your project and manage that. The first one, we look at our scope, so we have a list of all the activities in the WBS, all the work that we need to do. Then we have information on the schedule, the duration of the activity, when the activity has to start and when it has to finish. And we also can include information on the budget. And depending on the tool you use, you can also use it to track the money that is being spent and the balance that you have. We can also look at information, graphical information like the Gantt charts that can help identify also the dependencies on the different activities, and even diagram, or we can look at the network diagrams and the critical path. When we look at the other plans that we develop, the quality, team, stakeholder, information, risk, and contract, they all require actions, they all require activities, and they all have responsibilities to do that. So they become part of the plan. They are not independent of the schedule that we have today. And they will go into a new section. It's called the section on projects. That means that when we're building our project and we have our WBS, one of those components that we're going to be including is the project management component. That is where we're going to be placing all the tasks and activities to manage quality, manage the team, manage the stakeholders, information, risk, and our procurement. The idea is that you have an integrated view of all your information. And that's where you're going to be able to identify all those tasks that are being required by the project. Integrating the plans means that when you're looking at your WBS, this is going to be the new area where you're going to be adding those new activities. The previous activities, usually the information comes from the log frame and they are part of the logical design of the project. These are all the activities that are needed to achieve that impact. But one of the rules of the WBS is the 100% rule. That means that the W's represents 100% of all the work that is done at the project. So when we were working with the team and we were developing all those plans, we identify actions that we need to do that were not part of the activities in the log frame. Activities, for example, reducing the impact of a risk, or training of your team, or building a relationship with the stakeholders, or producing reports on information needed to build capacities and the understanding of the project by key stakeholders. All those activities are not in the log frame. They need to be part of the project and they need to be part of the WBS. And that's why we use this additional element where we include all the project management activities. And that's where we list them, and they create certain levels also of outputs and outcomes, meaning all these activities will help us reduce risk, will help us build support to the project, will help us achieve our goals in a more efficient manner. And that's where we can track them. So when we integrate the plans, we're integrating the information that we have in this level from the design of the project with the information that we have to manage the project. Now we have an integrated set of plans that are coordinated and they can help us manage the project successfully. The process of coordinating changes across the process is also another element that is important, integrating change control. So we need to identify a basic element to change control processes. That means the development of a request form for requests for changes. The institutionalization of a control board in the project. Some organizations may have it or may not have it, but we need to have a group of people who have enough authority who can approve those changes, and a change control log. The simple process can be defined by different tools and flowcharts that can explain to people their roles and when things are happening and where we need revisions, where we need approvals. The change control process usually it starts with these steps. There is a change request. It could come from a donor, from a key stakeholder, even from the team or the project manager. Then we assess that request. What are the benefits? What are the justifications for that change? What's going to be the cost or the impact in the schedule of the project? And we then pass it for approval. The approval means that there is enough merits for the change that we need to incorporate that. And that is a filter that helps identify those changes that may not add value to the project versus those changes that will improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the project. We then execute that change, meaning we update our plans, we make changes to our activities, and we implement those changes. And as always, we do a follow-up. Have we implemented the changes, and the changes are actually producing the benefits that we intended or that we used to justify that change? And that's part of our cycle of the change control process. The next is our change request form. It's a very basic form. If you don't have one in the organization, you can create one that basically summarizes information on the date of request, the name of the requester, the date, the description of the change, the justification, and also a level of priority. A simple document that helps you organize the information so that the decision can be made by the people without having to ask too many questions. In one form, you can have all the information, and you can also track the decisions made by the board in charge of approving the change. The Change Control Board is chartered by members from the organization, from the team. You can have subject matter experts, people that can help you on the decision. They need to have a level of authority on the changes. People who are going to be part of that board includes the project manager, the director, the board, or the donor. Depending on the level of authority, some decisions can be made by the project manager. Other decisions that have a high impact, even in the design of the project, need to be approved by the project donor. Then there is a process for decisions on change requests and whether or not they are approved or not approved. The board works on an ad hoc basis. It is requested by the project manager based on the request of changes that he receives, sends it to the board for a meeting where they can review the requests and then make their recommendations. The final document behind that is the change control log. So all those changes that are happening in the project, we need to have a log. The log will help us identify the number and the change of the description, the date of the request, the requester, the priorities, the evaluation, the status of the evaluation in terms of how the change is going to impacting, whether it's going to be a scope, schedule, or budget, the response on the request, the owner for implementing that change, and a final column where we have the status. This is useful in the log to keep track of all the requests that are coming, and we know in what status they are. If they are in this phase of analysis, the review, if they've been approved or not, and the date that's been implemented. With this log, we can have a better control of all those changes. Again, the idea is not to stop changes. If the change has a merit, if there is a good justification, then we need to be able to act on it. But acting means that we need to act in a rational manner, meaning that if the change comes, what's going to be impact to the project? The impact could be, yes, we're going to be able to increase the benefits to the communities or the people that we're working with, but we also need to look at if we have the money, if we have the schedule, if we have the resources, or if we have the skills to do that. Adding more work to the project increases the level of risk. So the change control process helps us manage that. Depending on the conditions that we have in the project, we can make those changes in a way that helps us then have a good analysis, have the time to make the decisions, and then having a group of people who can then make the decision. Depending on the type of change, again, you can have different levels. Small, quick changes that are not going to have a major impact on the schedule or on the budget can be done by the project manager without much analysis. Other changes that will have a larger impact may include more analysis, more time, even for the decision and approval, and then even be the approval of additional funds that are needed in order to implement that change. So it's important that you have a documentation of that process and that people in the team and some of the key stakeholders are aware of that process.